Alright, so let's talk about models. So for this one, we're going to create a new component because just putting it here, it's going to be a little bit messy. So I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to call this one models.js. Actually, could be model. Sorry for that. So model. Alright. Of course, we need to do the usual stuff. So I'm going to copy the import of React, just like we did before. And I'm going to leave the view, the button, and text and style sheet. So again, we just need to create a class. Because I'm lazy, I want to just copy this. I'm going to call this one modal and then component. And then at the bottom, I'm going to just maybe render something. So render, open and close, return. We return something, and we're going to return something simple for now. I'm just going to add maybe a view. We're going to use that view later. And view, and I made a mistake with this, but don't worry, I'm going to fix it in a second. I'm going to say view, and of course when we return some JSX, so we need to do this. Sorry for that. All right, so we get a view, and inside I'm going to do text and I don't know, hello. Of course, then we need to export this one. So export default and modal component, and I'm going to go and copy the styles, and I'm going to close this one and close it, and I'm going to comment this out for now. All right, so we pretty much get our modal component. All right, so of course then we need to import it at the top. So import modal, say comp from ./src. We're going to go to modal, and there we go. So now I'm going to copy this one, and I'm going to get rid of the other things, the image background. I'm going to go here and maybe paste it at the bottom. So of course this project is going to go to you, so you can download it and play around with this. So I'm going to save it, and let's see what we get. So we're going to reload it, and we get hello. That's good. That's what we need to get. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to close this once. I'm going to go back to modal. So now what I want to do, I want to click a button right here and show a model, right? The default model we get with the platform, with the iOS or Android. So for this one, I'm going to need a button. That's why I'm using a button. Every time I click it, I'm going to swap the state to show or hide the model. Pretty simple stuff, I'm going to go to the style. I'm going to add some inline style for now, just a width of 100%. I'm going to go and just delete the text. I'm going to add just a button. Right, so the button, we're going to, of course, add a title. We need to add a title. And I'm going to call it open modal. And what are we going to do? So I'm going to do an press. And whenever we press this, I'm going to run a function called this handle modal. Of course, we don't have this function. We need to create it. So at the top of the render, I'm going to go here and say I want to, of course, run a function. Okay, now I'm going to bring the model right here at the top. We're going to use it in a minute. So the component calls model, and the handle model, the only thing it's going to do is to change the state of the model. So first I need to create a state with modal. You could call this whatever you want, and the model starts as false. So of course, after we attach the model and we create everything, we're going to check on the state if we want to show the model or not. Since on the state, the initial state, it's false, you're not going to show it. All right, I'm using this way. We have new ways of doing this with React. I'm using this one because it's pretty safe with the version we got. If you want to use initial props or initial state, you can totally do it. And this is, of course, assuming that you're very comfortable with React. So I'm going to do this, that set state, and I'm going to open and close, and I'm going to say modal. And the modal, of course, we're going to do this dot state dot modal. So if the model is, of course, true, we're going to change it to false. And if it's false, we're going to change it to true. This is kind of a standard ternary operation. Right, pretty simple stuff. If we click the button, it's going to go here and say, okay, what is the state of model? It's false. Oh, okay, so I'm going to change it to true. And if it's true, oh, I'm going to change it to false. So this is pretty much what we are doing right here. Okay, so now what do we need to do? Well, we need to bring the model, right? So I'm going to go at the bottom, and I'm going to bring the model, open and close. Now, of course, inside of the model, we need to at least get something. So I'm gonna create a view with some dumb content. I'm gonna bring style, and I'm gonna say that the margin top, it's I don't know, 50. We're almost done. I know this is boring, but we kind of need to do it. And maybe a background color, so we can tell the difference. So we get a background color, and inside I'm gonna say, I don't know, some text. My modal content. Simple stuff. All right. So of course, if the application starts, nothing is gonna really happen, right? So we get the modal content, right? But we know that, and it's because we are not really using the state. So this modal needs to know what's going to happen when the application loads. You know, I am going to be visible at the beginning, or I'm going to be hidden. What am I going to do? Well, this one, you can manage this with the visible property. Let me do it. All right, visible. There we go. So of course, this one takes a Boolean, right? True, false. Since we do have that on the state, this is the state.modal. So this one starts at false. If we reload the application, we kind of don't get it. Now, if of course we click it, we're going to show the model. And you know, this is a model. Now, of course, what the model is doing, it's pretty much putting a pretty large container on top of the whole screen. And that's, you know, how the model works. It's just like a new screen on top of everything. We just see the background red because we are using the view, right? The model is just by default white, and you get everything at the top. It's just like a new screen. Now, of course, we can grab this view at a style of flex and make it kind of a full width. And I'm going to do it because I want to just move forward to the next thing, and I want to show you something else with this one. Now, what I want to do, I want to add a button right here at the top, at the bottom, to close the model. So this one is just going to be button, and of course we need a title equal to close modal, something like that. And I'm doing on press, and whatever we press it, we can pretty much do the same thing that we get at the top, since we are going to toggle that state. Going to open model, close model, and there we go. Now, of course, this is pretty simple. Now, with the model, you get some properties, and they are really cool. So I'm going to go to model, and these are the props you get. So of course you get callbacks whenever the orientation changes on the phone. You get a way to know, you know, that happened, and you know, maybe close the model. You get the on request close. If you know we are closing it, you get, you know, that, and you know, a lot of different properties. But the most important one, it's the animation type. Let me just find it. Animation type. I'm gonna go here. And the animation type gives you 3 ways of showing that component. You get the slide, you get the fade, or you know, none. So I'm going to copy this property, and I'm going to go to the model and say that now I want, you know, an animation type. So by default, it takes a string, right? None, slide, or fade. So default, it's none. That's why when we, you know, load it, nothing really happens, just like popping out. So you can do slide, and let's see what happens. I'm going to say slide. I'm going to reload it, and if I click it, we get that slide. So, you know, it's a little bit better. I would use that one if you ask me. And then, of course, you get the fade. I don't really like the fade. I'm just going to show you anyways. So I'm going to reload it. Oh, let's reload it. I'm going to open the model, and, you know, it's not ugly, but I much prefer the slide. Alright, that's the most important property. All the other ones are just callback. Whenever you do on show, you just, you know, do something. So I'm going to say on show, just like that, open and close, and we just run a function. So alert, just like the other callbacks, you know, showing, I don't know. So I'm going to go and reload it and open model, and of course I'm not getting it. So why is that? So alert, I'm pretty sure I did something wrong. So, all right, I should be getting something. So on show, and then we just run the function. So why it's not working? All right, just let me just double check. So on show, it is a function, and we pass the property. So what is happening? All right, just let me just double check. I'm pretty sure this is my mistake. So let me just double check. All right, I'm sorry for that, guys. I'm really embarrassed. I was putting it on the button. And this is, what happens when you're talking and coding at the same time. Sorry for that. Happens. So I'm going to save it, and I'm going to reload the application, open modal, and we get the alert. That's callback. Yeah, I was really confused. Why is it not working? It's pretty simple. So yeah, it was my dumb mistake. But it happens. It's going to happen to you at one point. Okay, so we are done with the most basic components we could get with React Native. Now, if you ask me, are we going to use these components the whole time? Well, yeah. Most of the times you're going to just use this because they are the most basic ones, and you could just take these components and you could create whatever application you wish. And of course, we get more and more things, of course, to create more complex applications. And on the next section, we're going to talk about that. Now, when you use an application, you create an application, you're entering a different application, not your application. You're gonna get some kind of a navigation logic. Maybe you get a side drawer. Maybe you click it and you go to the next screen where you get the back and the title and the header, or maybe a tab-based component where you have the options in the tab right at the bottom of the screen, and you tap it and you go to different sections. So by default, you don't get this with React Native. You don't get it, right? There's no way to do that with just React Native. So what you can do, you can install a third-party library that will do this for you. You have some options in the market, and we are gonna install and use the one that React Native suggests. But don't worry, we're gonna talk about all of this on the next section. So let's go to the next one and start with navigation, and make sure you have time for this. All right.